Quebec City. And there was this woman who walked by every day, and she's a very elegant older woman, and she carried a teddy bear. And every day she'd walk by 2 or 3 times, and finally my curiosity got the best of me. And I went out to talk to her. And I introduced myself, and she didn't introduce herself back. She actually introduced the teddy bear as Roland. And so I coaxed her into coming into the restaurant. And we greeted her as if she was family. And we did the same with Roland. And he became part of our family. And she came every Sunday after that. And she would come, and we'd take Roland into the kitchen, and we would let him pick the meal, and we'd bring it to the table. She'd have a couple of martinis when she'd get up from the table. We would then take his meal, and we'd pack it up for when she would go home. And Sundays ended up being pretty quiet at one point. And so she recommended that we have live jazz. So we did. We started having live jazz on Sunday nights. But because it's Quebec City and it's cold and there's storms, once in a while the band would show up. So we started having friends and family and kind of staff shows. And so we'd have comedians, we'd have stories, we'd have singers. It would end up being a really incredible night. And one of the Sunday nights, I was upstairs, because I lived upstairs, and one of my partners calls me down, and he says, somebody is making fun of Mrs. Teddy. And I'm a very protective person, so I dashed down this. I don't even know if I touched a stair, and as soon as I get into the restaurant, Mrs. Teddy is standing there, and she looks at me, and she goes, no. I will take care of this myself. I've got this. And actually, I'd like to buy their meal. And furthermore, I'd like to sing tonight, if that's okay. But if you wouldn't mind introducing me as Claudia Labelle instead of Mrs. Teddy, that would be great. So beside me is one of my best friends who was there all the time, Yvon-Justin. And Yvon-Justin is a musician, and she was actually our lawyer too. And her parents were with the Quebec Symphony Orchestra. And she would always play piano, and she'd sing at the staff at our shows, and her face just went blank and her eyes just teared up, and she immediately just went on the phone and started calling people, and she wouldn't tell me why. Finally, we have the show, it's great, everyone has a good laugh, and I go up and I introduce Claudia. Meanwhile, this table is still kind of making fun of her. So I introduced Claudia Labelle, and she comes up and she tells us that it's been 30 years since she's been on stage. And this is the first time that she's coming back. And she looks at the table in front of her and she says, I heard you call me insane. I said, I'm fine with that. Because my insanity is where I find my comfort. My insanity is my sanity. It protects me, and it actually keeps me sane. And over 30 years ago, my last night on stage was when I was announced that my son, Pierrot, and my husband, Frédéric, had passed in a plane crash. And all I had left was Roland. So I know that Roland isn't real, but he's all I have left. And he is not cruel to me. And she looked over at Véronique, whose face is just dripping wet, and all these people were coming in with the instruments, and she looks at Véronique and she says, Véronique, fly me to the moon? Véronique starts playing Fly Me to the Moon, and instrument by instrument they start playing with her, and it was probably, it was by far the best rendition I'd ever heard of anyone sing Fly Me to the Moon. And after she was done, she actually sang for 2 hours. And she continued coming back singing every Sunday until we eventually left Quebec City to move back to Vancouver. And she kept the restaurant and she kept it running until just a few years ago. Thank you.
Yeah.